wrapped up in the lasso of truth, shouldn't Doomsday have started telling all of his secrets?
That I do know about Wonder Woman.
Rah! Ah, rah.
Welcome everyone to another episode of Three Nerds Review. This time we're taking a look at Batman v Superman, Dawn of Justice.
We'll start off with what I found to be the internet's biggest problem with Batman versus Superman, and that was how Ben Affleck was going to do as Batman.
Most of the time when he was playing Batman, he seemed overly, harsh. He wasn't the analytical detective. He was revenge-happy.
Could you not argue that with him being older in this movie, they reference his 20 years of fighting Gotham scum? Maybe he's become a little jaded in his older age, and just the level of violence he's had to deal with for the last 20 years have left him a more brutal hero.
Possibly, but it still seemed strange that Batman was best known as the world's greatest detective, and he puts almost no work into looking for any of the causes behind anything. It's always just, or Superman has done this, therefore Superman's evil. He doesn't investigate the bombings, doesn't investigate the atrocities in Africa. It's just, Superman must be guilty of it.
Yeah, no, I agree with that a lot. I feel like Ben Affleck did well with what was in the script kind of thing. I honestly almost think that his performance, anyway, Ben Affleck's performance, was probably just about the best thing about this movie. And I would say, not writing-wise, but demeanor and acting-wise, he's kind of become my second favorite Batman now.
Does that really say a lot about his performance when you're better than George Clooney and Val Kilmer?
Yeah, that's true. So, Thomas, how about you? What did you think of Ben Affleck as Batman?
Also kind of with you guys on this, I thought Ben Affleck did great with what he was given. Batman seemed super pissed in this whole movie, all the time. And he was much madder at Superman than I thought he really should have been. But yeah, they spent a lot of money for an okay Batman.
Mm-hmm.
But I strongly agree with Chris, as there is no evidence of the world's greatest detective in that.
Yeah.
He just kinda, I have to kill Superman.
I enjoyed also his stealthiness at the LexCorp party. Well, I'm just gonna wander in here, attach this. What are you doing in our server room? I thought this was the bathroom.
I routinely pee on expensive computer equipment. I'm a billionaire!
Okay, so another thing we kind of wanted to talk about is whether or not this movie is just a collection of action scenes that lead one into the other, or is there an actual coherent, strong plot to this movie? Thomas, what are your thoughts on that?
The movie starts with a bucket of plot, and they dump a lot of it out at the beginning, and then it gets a little thin. Mm-hmm. Towards the end. We are treated to another rendition of Batman's origin. Did you know they kill his parents?
This is new information.
Yeah, I didn't see it in every Batman movie, Gotham, all the cartoons, and a bunch of the comics.
I will say, stylistically, it was very beautifully shot. I really enjoyed it. It was kind of like, if I have to see this one more time, at least it's visually interesting. That one shot with the gun destroying the pearl necklace, I thought was great.
It's a very Zack Snyder thing. He's really good at the visual spectacles, and that really makes it worth watching Batman's origin story again.
Let's talk a little bit about some of the characters in this film. First of all, the main two, obviously, Batman and Superman. What are some of your opinions on just generally how they were portrayed in this movie?
I felt almost everybody was a caricature of their comic book versions. Mm-hmm. This Lex Luthor is a crazy person. He seems to just he's a shit disturber, it seems, and has no real plot. Lex in the comics was a cold, methodical, everything's for a reason. He tries to plan out every step in advance, and Batman is not being like the true detective.
Yeah.
Superman's all dark and broody and being kind of emo throughout most of the movie, instead of being the eternal optimist. It's, everybody just seemed like not a true version of themselves.
Yeah. I do have to say, I kind of liked Jesse Eisenberg as Lex Luthor, and I feel like that might have just been because I was really worried about him from what I saw in the trailer.
Bruce Wayne meets Clark Kent. I love it.
I was kind of thinking, this is going to be awful, and then he exceeded my expectations by being pretty good.
I like Jesse Eisenberg's portrayal of crazy Lex Luthor. It added, to me, some entertainment value in the early portions of the movie when not a lot is really going on. I agree with Chris. He's not the classic Lex Luthor where, you pointed out, he thinks everything through like you would when you're fighting someone who can burn you to death with his eyes.
Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman. I thought, I know earlier I said Ben Affleck might have been the best part of this movie, but I actually really liked the energy she brought as Wonder Woman. Really interesting character. I was really interested in learning more about this character, and I have to say, I'm really fascinated to see the solo Wonder Woman movie now, because I really enjoyed her in this. When they're fighting Doomsday at the end, Superman's all, I'm gonna, keep attacking this thing. Batman's being his brooding, flying around the thing, but she's loving it. Like, she's jumping and yelling, and I'm really digging that. I really liked what she brought to this movie.
Yeah, the scene that sticks out when you saying her enjoying the fight is when she gets pushed back and her shield's like molten from blocking the eye blast, and she's just got this grin on her face like, this is something I haven't felt for a long time. And then immediately right back into the fray.
The one big problem I had with the last act of this movie is, I really like villains that have motivations and have, things going on that, all that kind of stuff. And Doomsday is just a monster. So we've got, an entire last act of just fighting a brainless, like you say, monster whose motivations are nothing more than
Raw.
Kill everyone. Like, I
We don't even get that out of him.
And I don't find that satisfying.
And especially with the way that the movie really seems to pat itself on the back for its subtlety of, Lex pulling all of these strings that span, over a year in movie time. And then it ends with...
Yeah. So another thing about this movie that I know we were a little bit worried about going into it was, is it just set up for the Justice League with, all these extra superheroes that we found out were going to be in it? Ultimately, how do you think that played out?
Well, it was nice of them to not have heroes introduced into the main storyline and then just vanish. It was nice that you only see them through files or surveillance footage.
Yeah.
It's you're made aware that they exist, but it's not like, oh, there he is on the news, Well, why wouldn't he help in this situation?
Yeah, it was nice that they didn't, like she said, didn't shoehorn them in, and because that would have been too much. There was barely enough action for 3 superheroes.
Yeah. No, I really liked those little sequences we saw. It was just enough, just a little hint to make me excited for the Justice League, whereas, any more would have been like, okay, now they're just blatantly setting things up and pandering and cramming it in, and I'm glad they didn't go that way.
Overall, I did enjoy watching this movie. It is a very slow starter. The action sequences, for the most part, are satisfying, and I did enjoy it. If I was to give it a rating out of 5, I would probably do 3 stars out of 5. I would recommend going to see it because it is visually a lot of fun to watch.
It is fluff. There's very little substance, I found. Characters are wrong. Plot points are abandoned. It's all set up to watch Batman and Superman punch each other and then introduce characters to make other movies. I give it about 2.5 out of 5. It was good to watch. I enjoyed the time, but it had a lot of problems.
For the most part, I found this one enjoyable. It was a good 2.5 hours to spend in the theater. I was entertained, visually beautiful. Character motivations are still really annoying to me. I don't really get that. If I were to give it a rating, I would probably have to agree with Chris. It's about a 50% for me. 2.5 out of 5. You might enjoy it, you might not. There'll probably be a lot of people out there who don't. It was okay. So, I've watched a lot of these comic book movies. I mean, I know I'm not an expert, but there are a few things that I know are supposed to be in them. And I gotta ask, I was waiting the entire time, where is the Stan Lee cameo?
Alright,
What?
Chris, we gotta do something. We need someone better than...
We need somebody new.
Well, it wasn't as good as Deadpool.